to make him a lifelong Yankee in pinstripes. Let's go boots on the ground now. Get out to San Diego. Jack Curry and Meredith Marakovits standing by. Guys, what are you hearing out there? It's been a very eventful past couple hours.
Eventful is a good way to put it, Bob. Now, I don't know about that private jet, but I can tell you that I was patrolling the lobby for quite some time today, most of the day, quite frankly, waiting to see whether or not Aaron Judge would walk through the doors. Jack, we haven't seen him yet. It doesn't seem like he is here. Don't know if he's on that private jet. The wildest thing to me about the tweet is the fact that the Yankees front office staff was in their suite, seeing the tweet in real time, not knowing whether or not it was correct. We know it was retracted very quickly, and they were told that they are still very much in the mix. But, Jack, I can't help but wonder, where there's smoke, is there fire?
But for those 7 minutes, as you said, Meredith, time essentially stood still because the Yankee officials that we spoke to talked about how, hey, they felt they were still in on this. Suddenly, Jon Heyman has this tweet, and as Michael said, John is a terrific reporter. He's been doing this for a long time. He also has over 800,000 Twitter followers. So if he puts something out there, it's going to get a lot of attention, and it's going to move quickly. So we don't know who or what the source of the information was, but if the Yankees have had continuing dialogue with Judge and his camp, I think their belief is they are still involved in this. There is no final decision that has been made. Spoke to someone who has been in communication with Judge's camp, and Judge's camp has said their belief and their hope is that there will be a resolution soon. Didn't attach a team to that. I go back, Meredith, to something that Cashman said yesterday. He said that Judge is driving the bus. And I said, well, how do you get closer to maybe making him drive that bus in your direction? He talked about loading that bus up with a lot of cash. And I think that's the direction we're moving right now.
You mentioned the cash. One of the reports today was that the Giants were offering $9,360, a huge number, Jack. Can you believe that number that's on the table right now? And do you think it could potentially even get higher?
I actually can believe it. I always come to these winter meetings, Meredith, and I admit that my guesses are always a little low. I know Sunday night the Yankees were in the 8-year, $300 million range, but you talk about other teams getting involved. You know the money is going to go higher. Turner got an 11-year deal. What is Judge's camp going to say in terms of that and in terms of what they think their player is worth? I think it's interesting what the guys in the studio talked about. Does Aaron Judge want to have that New York Yankee legacy? If the money is similar, does he want to stay and be a Yankee, become a captain, get 99 retired? I equate this with Bernie Williams in 1998. I'm actually writing a book right now on the 1998 Yankees. Hovering over that entire 98 season was Bernie's impending free agency. After the season, Meredith, he was this close to signing with the Red Sox. They were offering him $87.5 million. The Yankees were at $60 million. Bernie had one final meeting with George Steinbrenner. He matched the offer. Bernie stayed with the Yankees. Bernie wanted to be a Yankee. Does Judge want to be a Yankee?
And that really is only a question for Aaron Judge, and I do feel, like you said, we are going to find out soon. Now, Aaron Boone, you'll hear from him a little bit. He spoke today. He spoke to both the press media, and he was here on the set with us, and he said he has had continuing conversations with Aaron Judge, but did say he met with him one final time at the end of the season and spoke about some of the things that you just discussed. You wonder how much that relationship plays into things.
Well, remember when the Yankees hired Aaron Boone, one of the attributes that they spoke the most about was his ability to communicate. And there is definitely a strong relationship between the two Aarons, between Judge and between Boone. And I think those kind of conversations help. But at the end of the day, this is a decision that Boone, his wife, his parents, any of his closest confidants, those are the people who are going to make that decision. He turned down what was a very strong and reasonable offer in April. He bet on himself, and now he is reaping the benefits of that in this crazy offseason. Meredith, I've covered Major League Baseball for over 30 years. I don't think I've ever covered a more secretive, mysterious kind of sweepstakes than the Judge one right now.
And even throughout his career, he is quiet. He keeps it close to the vest. He's a very private person. I know that firsthand in dealing with him since the first day he got into the big leagues. Now, Gabe Kapler, the manager of the Giants, also spoke today, and he said, what's the sell? How do you sell San Francisco? And he simply explained it's not difficult in his eyes to sell San Francisco. He called the organization well-funded, well-led, well-run, progressive, and a place anyone should want to play. He also noted the financial commitment and the fact that he thinks they are close to being a team that can contend in the NL West every single year.
Right, they won 81 games last year. 2 years ago, they won 107 games. So I'm sure if the Giants are making their pitch, they're telling Judge that they're a team that can make that leap. I look at the Giants and I see them as a team with a lot more holes than the Yankees right now. And if you look at the Yankees' history, Brian Cashman recently signed a 4-year extension as general manager. In his 25 seasons as general manager, the Yankees have made the postseason 21 times. That's a record that very few teams, if any, can match. So if Judge is talking about wanting to be a place where he's part of a perennial winner, which he has said, the Yankees are a better choice than San Francisco.
Well, we're going to keep you updated from San Diego.